Greetings, y'all. Happy Saturday. How are you? What's your Saturday been like? I taught classes all this morning. Just sat down and had something to eat. At Starbucks, one of my favorite drinks is called their cortada, which is ristretto. I think it's like 2 shots of it. It's a little drink. Oh, but it's so good the way that they make it. So I had that, and I had a falafel wrap, and so my body is settling down now. I'm gonna go inside and have a shower pretty soon, but I felt like chatting with y'all, chatting about emotional topics, emotional healing, sharing my thoughts like I usually do. So if you are interested in that, please do share the live, and I'm about to share it with some of my regular community. Give me a second. Thank you for liking the live. How are you? I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's your city, what's your sign. Hey, Kimmy, how are you? Thank you for popping in. Kimmy Cakes Inspirations in the house. We're talking about emotional healing. We're going to look at what it is. I'm going to share some of my practices. Thank you. Thank you for being there. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Coach Veronica Marie, and I do a lot of things, but primarily on TikTok. I present as a yoga instructor, a yogi, a personal trainer, and emotional wellness coach with a specialty and passion in shadow work. Thank you, Kimmy. I'm humbled. I really am. I don't know if I'm good at everything, but I'm good at a lot of things I'm good at. Thank you. I appreciate that. So let's just jump in the chat. Like, who in here is in an emotional healing process? Yes, that's what matters. Is anyone here in an emotional healing process? People think because I am a teacher and I have a good handle on things that I don't have to heal, but I do have to heal. Scorpio from Atlanta, thank you. It's Aquarius from New Orleans, but I live in the Atlanta area. So it's saying some comments were filtered. Healing from childhood trauma. There's so many topics to discuss in that realm. I want to talk about um, what healing looks like. What is it really? Because we all talk about it. But what is it? What is emotional healing? How do you heal from trauma? Currently in my personal, just everyday practice, I'm being reminded of things that were said about me that weren't true, you know, um, and allowing myself to feel the remnants of the pain that's still there. And so I want to share with you my practices, my thoughts, and such. If y'all would tap the screen. Hey T, I'm well. I'm well. Let me get my water real quick before I start talking. Not running from it. That's a good one. What else? Okay, let's say facing it, being okay with it being the past, not my present. Okay, all right. We're talking about emotional healing if you just popped in. And so I posed the question, how do you heal from your emotional pain? Like what are your strategies? I'm going to share mine too. But I do want to hear from you because you may have something that may help someone else who's going to read it, you know? Learning to love myself first, yes. How do you heal emotionally? Like what is your process? That's the question. So what I know is that I just want to talk from a soul perspective today. I can teach from a psychological perspective, and things like that, but wrote apology letters. Okay, okay. Where did you get that idea? Like, was it part of like therapy, or did you someone else talk about it and you decided to try it? The spirit gave it to you. Get curious and ask yourself questions. Okay. So what happens after the questions for you? One of the biggest things I feel, just coming from a soul perspective, I the biggest thing for a soul is to be experienced. We are experiential relational beings, right? And so the quality of the experience matters. So most humans, most souls want to be witnessed. They want to be seen. They want to feel significant. Most souls want to be understood deeply, heard, valued, accepted, comforted, forgiven. Um, what else do souls want? Deep connections, closeness, security. We're talking on a soul level. I allow the answers to come, journal, and find different ways to understand and nurture. Got it, got it. Yes, the soul wants peace. The soul wants to experience love with others and within self. And so there are hurtful situations occur that stop the soul from, in that moment, receiving what the soul is looking for. The soul wants gratitude, ashe. There are things that happen that prevent, in that moment, the soul from receiving that thing that is deeply nourishing. Like we said, the deeply nourishing thing could be forgiveness, acceptance, significance, value, love, and such. And if you look at most relationships that are prosperous and relationships that struggle, hey Anubis, usually there's a lot of points of prevention, right? Whether it's poor communication, no communication, um, the opposite of all the things the soul wants, peace, the opposite of gratitude, the opposite of value. When you look at relationships that are not doing well, usually those areas are deficient, right? Can you see that? Usually. Because when you don't feel valued and when you don't feel safe, when you don't feel secure, when you don't feel heard, when you don't feel deeply connected, when you don't feel peaceful and all of those things, you are actually experiencing the opposite, then the souls can't really have, I want to call it interrelation, intercourse. Like there's no soul inter and I'm struggling with that word because I don't know if I can say it or not. But when we're talking about the soul, we want to be interwoven. Let's use that word. We want to be interwoven. And the way that we weave the fibers of our realities together is through the things like diplomacy, kindness, protection, and we can go on and on and on. That's what causes souls to link. That's not the only cause because we know there's trauma bonding too, but I'm talking about in a positive way, right? And so, and when those things hinder what the soul really wants, then that connection suffers. And when the connection is suffering, if there is also dysfunction within the individuals present, then not only are we hindering the soul connection, but we're actually placing blockages in front of it. Does that make sense? So the soul has some natural things that we really want, right? What are the things that you really want? Just type a word. And I've been kind of looking at what, not kind of, I've been looking at what I really want for a long time now, but more deeply over the last year, because I don't know if y'all been following me for a while, but I was diagnosed with cancer last year. And so I really had to look deeply into some of these things and ask, is this really important? Is it not important? What do I need to do with it and such, you know? So we have the situation where the soul wants to connect, and the connection points are the qualities that we just mentioned. And when those qualities are not there, and when dysfunctional behavioral patterns are there, not only are the souls not connecting, but then there's a block, there's a veil, let's say, that prevents the souls from intertwining, from connecting in a deep way. Expansion is important, right? And when the dysfunctional behaviors come in, then it creates more distance between souls, right? So some of the dysfunction that I'm talking about could be poor listening skills, being unconscious of self, defensiveness, low self-esteem, low self-image, low self-worth, trivializing, minimizing those behaviors. Anything that not only prevents what the soul naturally wants, but places a blockage there. You know, I'm going to say at least for the last 4 years, I've said that I just don't believe in struggle love. I don't believe that love has to be hard. It really doesn't. What makes love hard, and when I say love, now I'm talking about connection. What makes connection difficult is the dysfunctional behaviors, not love itself, because the soul is naturally at ease, right? The soul is naturally willing to connect. The soul is here to connect and expand, right? If we look at some of the thought processes around why we're here, you know, if we are all aspects of the divine, then when we connect with other individuals, we become more divine, right? So our souls are set and designed for that word expansion, for it becoming more divine. And anything that blocks the connection, hinders the connection, right? It's going to feel uncomfortable because that's not what we're here for. We're not here to be petty with one another. We're not here to be passive aggressive with one another. However, it does happen. And then sometimes you have to return that energy, because let's be honest, sitting there and just absorbing and taking hurtful behavior and not returning it to sender is not good self-care. And return to sender looks different in certain situations. Sometimes it's giving them back the energy that you were given, saying, nah, that's for you. You know, sometimes it's walking away. Sometimes it's placing a boundary. Sometimes it's speaking up and saying, no, that's not it. Right? And sometimes people who have been raised to not talk back, been raised to be the bigger person, take the higher road, things like that. You don't return the sender energy because nobody taught you that. So you don't know it, but what you're doing is holding the energy within yourself. You're holding the pain. You're holding the thoughts. You're holding the emotion. You're holding how it changed you inside, trying to be the bigger person. That's not being the bigger person. That's not good self-care. And it's paving the way for the need for some emotional healing. So you got to ask yourself in every situation, how do I return this energy back to a person, right? How do I give it back? Sometimes giving it back is destructive. So be it, right? But in your wisdom, serving your highest good, right? Led by spirit. Sometimes giving it back is peaceful. It's just kind of a shift like, nah, take that back. That's you. Sometimes it's simple as saying no within yourself and turning your back on it, but not neglecting to send it back. This is not for me. This is their thought process. This is their way of seeing. This is their experience based upon their conditioning. It's not mine. You got to say that to yourself, but yeah, sometimes you need to be saying it to people, because this bigger person mentality that we carry around will prevent us from returning to center the energy. So not only did you experience the influence of the energy, then you have to take it along with you, right? And that's not helpful in emotional healing. So when you think about a time where, let's see, the energy has to be shifted, so it has to be it definitely does. This means some people have to get comfortable talking who usually don't talk. People that just kind of let things slide, let it go. And sometimes it's to your benefit not to say anything, but you need to say it to yourself. That's not mine. Do not own that. It's not yours. Sometimes people will say things and you'll take it within your being, right? But here's what I do suggest. Another thing that you can do is you could scan it for truth, right? You can scan it for truth. And if there's any truth in it, you can embrace the truth. That's a way to alchemize it. So for example, this word patience, like within my life, I'd had a few individuals tell me I wasn't patient, right? And so, of course, in defense during those times, I would say that's not true. I am patient, da 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 da. But when I learned how to alchemize it, I examined it for truth. Like when are there situations that warrant me to be impatient? When do I have low tolerance? Well, I have low tolerance for certain behaviors. I do. And I will not be patient with those behaviors when they are coming against my ability to care for myself. I won't do that. Yes, and they do think that. They do. So instead of saying, no, I'm not impatient. No, that's not true. What I learned to see is, yes, there are times that I can be impatient, and there was a situation where you were exhibiting these qualities, and I was definitely not patient with that, for sure. Because if you don't glean the truth from it and really see what part of your shadow it's touching, you can't integrate it. Sometimes when the shadow is touched because it hasn't been seen fully by you or justified, you got some parts of your shadow that need your justification. And that's why you feel so offended when people bring that out. No, that's not true. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. If you're able to really look at that and go, in what instances is this true for me? Not true from their point of view, true from me. One of those things that the other word, I was thinking about this word this morning, and that's what provoked me to post about it. Avoidant. Like in this day and age, and people have a need to diagnose one another because they have access to all of these words, right? Psychological words that were not really open access once upon a time, but now they are. And so people just kind of take a word and they just begin to, oh, they're this and they're that. They can diagnose everyone. They even diagnose themselves. And let me tell you, people who self-diagnose a lot through TikTok videos and stuff like that, they're going to self-diagnose you as well. So at one point, someone said that I was an avoidant, right? And so I had to think about that. All right, so what are the things I avoid? What are the things I avoid? I avoid hurtful behavior. I avoid tussling and back and forth with people. I avoid, and I just came up with a whole list. Like I filled the paper of things that I avoid. I avoid dysfunctional connections. Absolutely. I will walk away from that. Dysfunction, right? So if that's an avoidant, then yep, I'm an avoidant. You can call it that. Okay, if that's what you are talking about, the fact that I shut down something you were saying, or I stopped or put a boundary somewhere, and you want to call that avoidant, well, that is what it is. And now you have taken the sting away from it because your shadow, right? And when I say shadow, I don't really mean like this negative. Your shadow is not all negative. It's not bad and good. It just is. It's energy, right? But it's the shadow because you don't operate in it fully, or you don't fully bring it forward. So when we acknowledge our own shadow and understand our own shadow, then the sting of the offense is gone. Right? So now if someone says, you're so impatient, you're right. I'm definitely impatient. Right there. You're right. No need to defend, no need to prove, no need to say, no, I'm not. No need to even feel bad because you have already integrated your own shadow. We're talking about integration. A lot of people talk about doing shadow work, but I hardly ever hear them talk about integration. The integration is now I'm going to look at the part of me that's activated. You're welcome, Jesse. I'm looking at the part of me that's activated, and I want to see what's going on the outside, and what is it reflecting about what's going on inside, and where can I bring this shadow out of the hidden realms of my unconscious or a denial or just unknown into the known things about me. I want to bring this into the known qualities about me, right? And so this is when I begin to talk about the dark divine feminine, right? Because if you if you are a light worker, you can come imbalanced and begin to deny your shadow or feel ashamed of it or suppress it and things like that. And anything that is suppressed in you is available for someone else to activate it in discomfort. So you need to you need to integrate your shadow, right? Right. And loving those parts means number one, looking at them. Yes, that's there. Number two, understanding. That's how we move in love toward that part. Understanding, right? The understanding is more of, I know why. Hey, anxiety. Understanding those parts of yourself is more than I know why it's there. Understanding is also knowing what place it could have in your life currently. We're not trying to annex any parts of ourselves, push it to the side, suppress and think. There's nothing about you that is shameful, right? I know you may have judged it as shameful and other people have judged it as shameful and your conditioning may have said it is shameful, but it's not shameful. It is. It just is. Right? Now, it will produce shame within you if you don't bring it into your awareness and integrate it, because then you have loose ends of yourself just kind of wagging around, you know? So we notice where the loose end is. The loose end is anything we deny, suppress, anything that is uncomfortable, anything that we feel offended by, and we bring it into our awareness and we look at it. What is this? You know, what is this I'm looking at? How did that come to be? But also, what place does it have in my life now? Every part of you needs a place in your life. Shadow, light, gray, whatever we call it, it needs a place. And as long as you keep saying, I'm not like that, I'm not like that, then that part of you doesn't have a place. It's not existing in love. At some point, we got to realize that everything that is activated needs some place, a place set aside. You know, it just reminds me of scripture. And excuse me, because, you know, scripture is in my DNA and I just be talking and it comes up. But Jesus said to the disciples, I'm going away to prepare a place for you, right? You got to prepare a place for every part of you. Every part of you deserves a place, right? And not a place of pain, not a place of powerlessness, but a place of usefulness, a place that is beneficial, right? You got to prepare a place for it. So let me ask that question, a question of you. And you don't have to type it, but you could type it, right? What parts of yourself still feel uncomfortable when people point them out? What parts of you still feel uncomfortable when they're pointed out? Let me give you the routes to get there, right? Those parts really are behind the door of this phrase. You make me feel like, you make it seem like, you make me feel small. You make it seem like I'm not doing anything right. You make it seem, you make it seem is the part of yourself that's talking. You make it seem like I never loved you. That's the part of you that's talking. You make it seem like I never did anything good for you because all of a sudden I said no and da-da. That's the part of you that's talking. That part needs to be looked at and be held by you and in grace. Sometimes we're trying to forgive parts of ourselves that did nothing wrong. And that's I'm not going to call it emotional trauma, but that is a problem because it sends the wrong message to that part of yourself. Sometimes a part of yourself existing is not wrong, but you've been told that it was wrong. And so that part gets unfairly treated by you. And you're busy trying to forgive that part. And the part is like, what did I do wrong? Have you ever had somebody try to forgive you and you didn't do anything wrong? Talking about, I forgive you for that. And you're like, wait a minute, I ain't doing nothing wrong. Thank you for that, Jessie. Have you ever experienced that? You're just offering forgiveness. Forgiveness is a balm for something actually done wrong. Somebody had said to me one time, I forgive you. I can't remember the situation. And if I remember it, I'm going to bring it up. And I thought to myself, there was nothing wrong about that. You didn't like it. You can't forgive stuff you just didn't like. Forgiveness is not the energy that goes with that. It's not complimentary. It's not, right? Yes. So again, here's my question. What parts of you experience discomfort when others point them out, or others see them, or others talk about them, or others put words on them? Right? You know, people can, and let me talk about myself. Can I talk about myself? So, you know, some of y'all know already that I'm an Aquarius stellium, however we say that, right? So I have like 5 placements in my astrological, my natal chart that are Aquarius. And so before I knew much about myself and my natal chart, I had heard things about being Aquarius, right? I find receiving is more exposing of where I lack love for myself. I got too much time on my hands. I don't remember what I was talking about with that. But Aquarius, right? So I had heard some things about Aquarius. They're cold-hearted. They're distant. They're all logic. They're all these words, whatever you can find out about Aquarius. Right? And I used to hear those words and think to myself, but that's not true. Right? Because what I know about myself is I'm very emotional. Right? I also am very logical, right? But for a while, I used to feel offended when people would use those terms. And one day, I started examining it for truth, right? So, can I be distant? Absolutely. Anybody can. Team Aquarius through and through, you know. Can I be distant? Absolutely, I can be distant. That's what we might consider a dark side, but I don't like qualifying it as light and dark, but for the sake of talking, we can. But here's the thing I know about my distance, right? I will spend a lot of time talking before I get distant. I will spend a lot of time asking questions. I will spend a lot of time choosing different strategies of resolution. And when I'm dealing with a person who cannot resolve conflict, is unconscious about most of themselves and their communication patterns, and they just have low ability to see what's going on, and it's in a tussle, right? There's blame coming forward. There's shame coming forward. There's entitlement coming forward. There's their activated past coming forward. I will distance myself from that. Absolutely. But it would take me to see all of that to start distancing myself. So now when people go, oh yeah, I know about you Aquariuses, y'all get ghosts real quick. Well, you might think it's ghosting quick because you are not aware in the conversation. But it wasn't quick at all. And that's subjective. And so then I learned how to let people have their thought processes, right? Because time is subjective. For me, if we've been on the phone talking for 3 or 4 hours about a topic and we still didn't get anywhere, and at the end of it, I say, hey, this is what I got to do because this right here is toxic. You might feel like that was quick. But to me, that was cumbersome and I labored through it. All right. So, what's my point? My point is part of emotional healing from words. I will go hours. Have you ever like spent a whole night talking to somebody about something only in the morning to still be fussing about the same thing? You know? Have you ever done that? You know, when I think back to the years that I was married, there was many of those nights. Many of those nights. Long, hard conversations that's too long. Long, hard conversations that didn't really go anywhere. And just the energy and the tension went on for weeks and things like that. I've definitely done that. But everybody has their limit, right? And so I've learned to take words and examine them for the truth of them, right? And see that part of myself that is being touched and to prepare a place for it, find a place, justify it. You know what, self? Yes, you do become impatient. Do you want to become a little more patient there? Do you want to give more time and effort, or are you satisfied? I'm satisfied. Okay, come sit down then. Because this is going to go in the situations that I don't have energy for. We don't have energy for this, self. That's been helping a lot. Yeah. When you give that self a place, let's say that same person comes back around and uses that same word. Well, you have already validated that part of you and prepared a place. And so you have basically told that self, anytime these things happen, I give you permission to do this. Right? And if we want to shift at a certain time, we will. But for right now, I'm all right with you doing that. That's what you're saying to your shadow. That's the integration. And I'm using words that are personal to me so that I can really illustrate the point to you. Let me know if that makes sense, right? So if a person says, well, you get angry really fast. Okay, understand the word fast is subjective. It might be fast to that person because they're on the outside. They don't see the struggle and the turmoil you have going on the inside, right? So then you can ask yourself, did I get angry really quick? Was there another way? Do I want to take another way? Or is this pretty much how I see it? What's true here? What's the universal truth? That's looking at the shadow. Instead of getting upset, instead of defending, go ahead and examine it for truth. They gave you a reflection. You feel it on the inside. So whether or not the words they used are true, what is true is that you have something activated inside that needs to be looked at. And so instead of immediately responding to the person or immediately defending, you got to go, okay, what part of me is hurting? Triggers are gifts, but you got, yes. What part of me is hurting, right? What are the trigger words? I'm just giving you all of these options to help you. What words trigger me, right? I use two of them for me within my lifetime: impatient, avoidant. Here's another one: controlling. Things like that, right? So where's the truth in this? This part of me is hurting. What's true about this? All right, here's another question: when have I experienced this before? And you're going to need to examine the truth in that previous experience as well. And then you see, do you like that way of being? Do you like perceiving like that? Are you enjoying the outcome of it? Does it feel authentic? Is it something you want to shift? That's a good question. Does this feel authentic? Right? And can you prepare a place for that self? You say, self, come here, self. So I know in those other situations, this word bothered you and is still bothering you today. Let's look at situations when this is true. And let's look at situations when this is not true. And I want to keep you because I like you. I really do. And but I want you to be under my sovereignty, right? So you can't just pop out, self, and just be acting out. I want you under my sovereignty, self, which means you got to listen to me. So here's the place. Anytime X, Y, and Z happens, I give you permission to do that. And in that moment, if I want to choose another course of action, we'll sit down and talk about it. That's how you prepare a place, right? Because again, going back to light and dark, if you don't understand how to work with your shadow, how to integrate it, right? Then you're going to be an out of balance being, and you're going to be experiencing and absorbing a lot of unnecessary pain. Your shadow is there to enrich your life. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to demean. It's nothing to suppress. It's everything to bring forward. What are you telling me about myself? What are you telling me about the situation? What are you telling me about what we have learned? What are you telling me? And what is true? This is how we take the sting out of the words that people can say, right? Use them, alchemize them. Now, sometimes you're going to alchemize it and realize that that person really has a venomous energy. Yeah, I alchemized that, but that was venomous, right? And we do have those situations. This is not about just letting people walk all over you. No. This is not about turning the cheek or anything like that. I don't advocate for that. I advocate for alchemizing every single thing that comes into our awareness. So when the person said whatever they said, that hurt, we could deal with that. I just gave you a process for that. Now let me judge the energy. How is this person's heart toward me? Sometimes you got some people in your life, and I did a podcast about this recently. My podcast is the link is in my profile. Sometimes you have people who have hidden resentments against you. And if you say that to them, they'll say, no, I don't. But how can you tell? Because now I'm talking about the healing part of dealing with the outside world. So one part of healing is internal, preparing a place for the shadow, but then there's the external part too, and we can't forsake that, because you can do all the shadow work, you can prepare a place for your shadow and stuff, but then we still need to examine and assess connections, right? And sometimes energies that are put out, we can alchemize it, but we still must recognize that's venomous, right? That's malicious. That's resentful, right? We need to be able to say that, right? And your interpretation of what they gave is valid, right? Now you need to ask, what do I know about their heart? Now, I'm not about to say just because a person has a good heart, you need to, turn the other cheek or nothing like that, because good hearts can hurt when they're unconscious. Just because someone is saying something venomous or malicious or resentful doesn't make them a bad person. But I really do have to look at their pattern of seeing the world. How do they deal with people in this kind of situation? What have I seen, right? And is it possible for me to be in alignment with this person and create a peaceful existence together? Can we do that? Or is there hidden resentment going to be seeping out? Or is there hidden jealousy going to be seeping out? Or is there insecurity going to be seeping out? Because remember, I started by saying that the soul wants certain things and needs certain things to connect. And if the soul is getting the opposite of those things, you're going to experience disconnection. Right? So can you connect deeply with this person? Or is there a limit? And then you can honor the limit, right? Some people recognize that, hey, this is not working, but they don't honor the limit. They still fuss and complain and try to get the person to see and get the person to shift and change. And can't you see? And they don't. And they can't sometimes, right? So then you got to decide how you want to move with this person, right? Are you going to be in a space of allowing them to say those words again, right? And we can't stop people from saying words, but here's what we can do. After you do the internal work, right? After you do the internal work, because this is after you do the internal work. Can I say that again? This is after you do the internal work. You can say to the person, when you use that word, when you said X, Y, or Z, I went ahead and did some work with that inside for healing. But here's what I want you to know. When you use that word, yes, after we do the internal work, when you use that word, right, I might feel negatively again. I'm going to always do the work, but I might feel negatively, right? And I'm not going to hold myself back from that negative response. I'm just letting you know. See, because we can't stop people from saying things, and people can't really stop themselves from saying things when it's part of their pattern. We're talking about preparing a place for the shadow, right? When you say X, Y, and Z, when you said that, I did the work, right? I did some internal healing. But here's what I want you to know. I'm still healing. It's not all the way complete. So if you use that word or you use that phrase again, I might react negatively. I'm going to always alchemize it, right? But I'm not going to hold myself back from the negative reaction, because I'm letting you know, and you have a choice. You have a choice. You can keep saying the word, keep saying the phrase, keep doing the thing, right? But the result is going to be lack of connection. And after a while, we're going to have to assess the lack of connection. So if I'm telling you that this is harmful to our connection, and I'm also telling you that I am doing the work, then you got to decide where you want to be in this. Do you want to do the work too? Do you want to work on your own energy? Do you want to alchemize it for a better interaction? Hey, Marie. Or do you just kind of want to stay the way that it is? I'm not even asking you to change at this point. I'm just letting you know that I'm always going to alchemize it. However, if you say that again or do that again or whatever, I'm not going to hold back my negative reaction, because doing so is invalidating to myself at this point. And if we continue in this vein, this connection is going to suffer, right? So we could work together, we could grow together, we can expand together, or, we could experience the disconnection too. And that is not what I want, but I honor natural processes. We're talking about preparing the place. Y'all, I just saw about an hour ago, I saw a red bird. So red birds are very meaningful to me. And I just saw another one in a separate location. It's been a long time since I've seen them. So I just want to stop and honor that energy of my ancestors telling me it's going to be okay. That's the message. Ashe, ashe. Okay. I love that. We're talking about emotional healing. Emotional healing. What is emotional healing? Today, emotional healing is integrating your shadow. They are so beautiful. Today, emotional healing is integrating your shadow. There's a lot we could say about emotional healing, but this message was on my heart today. So if you just popped in and you're interested in this topic, I'm going to try to put it on YouTube. Lately, when I've been downloading my live, it's been something wrong with the file, so we'll see if I'm allowed to do it. I may just do a podcast on it later. Y'all okay? Did something I say bring you to the next space in healing or remind you of what you need to be doing or could do? Did you get some options there? Did you see a clearer way or a next step? You're welcome. I'm here for authenticity. I'm here for self-expression. I'm here for us learning how to live with our shadow. The shadow is not a dread. It's not dead weight. It's not bad. The shadow is a necessary part of our existence. Good, 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 good. All right, so that's it. That's it. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. So I did wind up getting on Lemonade. When I went on Lemonade, I already had a significant amount of followers. I don't know how that happened before I actually had the account, but they're there. And so I said, hey, why not? I just started posting it, and I actually like the format. You can't go live on there, and it's not really, it to me, it reminds me of an Instagram that prefers pictures. So you can write like a lot of text, like you can use it as a blog. And the photos show up reminiscent of Pinterest. It reminds me of Pinterest. So I like it. You deleted the app. I like it for what it is right now. And I've dedicated that to an energy of the shadow. So that's mostly what I post there. If you are interested in working with the Dark Divine Feminine, I do have a community Facebook group. It's private. It's called the Divine Feminine Project. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think Lemonade is pretty cool. On Facebook, my group is called the Divine Feminine Project. And I know I'm not going to stay there for long because right now I can't go live in it and I can't post my links in it. So I'm discovering another way to do that. But Marie, let's see, how can I do it? Because I can't send a link by TikTok. Send me your email address, or you could go on Facebook and look it up, the Divine Feminine Project. So what we're looking at still is witches. The word witch, what that means, what it has meant to me, what it means in the collective, the origin of the word, reclaiming the power of it, debunking a lot of the myths about it. And I give practices and thoughts and words and things like that to help stir you up in your inner witch faculty. Now, that's not the only archetype we're looking at. That's just the archetype that we're on. Before which was Siren. You found it? Good, good, good. Hey, Ro, how you doing? Before which we looked at the Siren, but which is one of my favorites, so that's why I'm kind of lingering there a little bit. And I've been wanting to go live and talk about intuition and how we can deepen into it, but it's hard for me to go live in that group, so I got to figure that out. Hey Ree, how you doing? This group is only for people who are drawn to the dark divine feminine. Like, you really want to stir up that within yourself and integrate it, right? Because it's an energy to live with, not really an energy to be scared of or just kind of look at passively. But if you want to embody these archetypes for a richness in life, then that's the goal. Yep, that's the goal. How you doing, Ree? So that's on Facebook. Now, when you get in the Facebook group, I post my live links. I go live on YouTube because I can't go live in the group. So you have to copy and paste it and put it in the browser. I'm doing real good today. The group that I have is called the Divine Feminine Project, and there's on the cover there's a picture of the Sheila Najee, which is like a sculpture, a divine feminine sculpture, which I love. All right, and that's it. Y'all follow me on YouTube as well at Coach Veronica Marie. My podcast is available there. And I just really use my podcast to give my audio teachings when I don't feel like being seen. Like, ideally, I would have put this topic on the podcast, but I wanted some interaction. So I decided to come here. All right. Okay, that's it, y'all. I appreciate your presence and I look forward. Oh, wait, y'all, wait. Sunday, tomorrow. I am teaching about honor in relationships and how to deepen into it. So if you want the link, it's a free teaching. It's a community teaching. Last night I did a divine feminine movement class, and we just moved the hips a bit and the chest and, got familiar with moving from different centers. Thank you. Tomorrow night, I think the time is 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be teaching about honor and how to deepen into it in your relationships. Because I hear people saying, I honor that, but they don't really honor that. They're just saying it. What they're really saying is, I respect that. And respect and honor is two different things, And I know that relationships that have a deep sense of honor, those relationships experience deep connectivity, right? So that's this Sunday. If you want that link, send me a DM. I think I might have it in my link tree. I don't know. But to be on the safe side, send me a DM and I'll get the link to you. All right. Now that's really it. I'm out of here and I'll talk to y'all soon.